Hey guys, welcome back. Eric Smith here, 5 Reasons Sports contributor, also co-host of Scouting the Fins. And we have already finished deep dive films for the first 6 Miami Dolphins draft picks. And in this video, we are going to take a look at our first of 2 seventh round picks. Number 231 overall, quarterback Quinn Ewers from Texas. And I'm going to be upfront with you guys. I'm not a quarterback expert by any means, but I do feel like we've got a good menu of plays lined up here to show the roller coaster experience that Quinn Ewers had in his 2024 season with Texas. And I know that there are varying opinions on PFF, and I've had my own disagreements with them. But Ryan Smith from PFF did mention that Ewers had 2 matchups against Georgia in 2024, and one of those games were his lowest grade of the season, and the other one against Georgia was the highest grade of the season for Ewers. So that's where our clips are going to come from. Looking over my original notes on Ewers, I have him as a patient, almost lazy in his processing and throwing. Slow execution can get him in trouble with defenders jumping routes, and it can seem like his internal clock is broken. It's almost as if he's a blue chip talent who never developed into being a gamer because the talent around him was always superior to the competition. And I also noted that, his success, I think, will be dependent on the situation that he gets into, and I think Miami is a good option for that. And then looking over the notes from the different draft guides that I reference, Simon Clancy said he's basically been a prodigy at quarterback since he was a kid, getting 9 full ride scholarships before ever starting a high school football game. Also mentions that he doesn't have the ability to create when the pocket becomes cloudy. Flipping over to Jake Brentall's guide, he says that Ewers was the number 1 prospect in the entire country in the 2021 recruiting class. He is a Texas native who initially committed to Texas before signing with Ohio State. He played 2 snaps as a freshman at Ohio State, and then he entered the transfer portal and signed with Texas. Plays with a good degree of arm confidence, will try to make difficult throws. Effective rhythm thrower who is comfortable in an offense with plenty of quick game. Played in a scheme that did not ask much of him as a processor. And also, he had a high pressure to sack rate, averaging 24% over the past 2 seasons. And then Dane Brugler's notes. So Dane had Quinn as the 6th ranked quarterback in the class with a 3rd round grade. And he returned to Texas once Steve Sarkisian got that head coach job at Texas. Dane says that he's a natural ball handling skills with lightning fast release, especially on RPOs. And Dane notates that coaches say that Ewers doesn't ride the emotional roller coaster and, has inconsistent deep ball placement, often leaving throws short and creating turnover opportunities. Dane says that he has a feel for touch to feather throws, but he needs to unload the fastball more often. And then lastly, that he trusts his arm over the mechanics. So, as you can tell from all these comments, the success of Ewers is far from guaranteed. However, everyone did seem to have enough good things to say that using a 7th round pick on someone who is likely to be a 3rd quarterback in 2025 is probably worth the risk. So, let's take a look at the film and see if we can try to give a visual representation of some of these comments. Just a quick edit here that I think I forgot to move my microphone back in place for the film review portion of this one. So the audio isn't the greatest. I know my videos have had issues with that in the past, and I think I've gotten that figured out for the most part. This one was 100% user error. All right, so we are going to start off the film review by looking at some good anticipation throws from Ewers. One of the things that we're going to see as we flip between good and bad throws is how Quinn's feet are much different between those type of reps, right? On this one, you can see very much on time, hopping into that throw, well placed anticipation throw to the running back leaking out of the backfield there, right? Getting him on the run, end up scoring on that play. Next one here, again, just in rhythm, right? That was, you know, catch, throw, and that ball is being thrown before the receiver is ever really into his break, right? Based on that leverage of the cornerback here, right? As we're coming off the line here, this cornerback is turned to the inside. There's almost no way that he's going to be able to flip his hips and get to the outside of that route, right? Ewers is reading that. Ball is out, right? Right there for the receiver. Easy pitch and catch. Another one here, right? Again, the feet, right? Catches the ball, play action, right? Feet are nice and active, light on his toes. Ball is out, right? Throwing it behind that linebacker, hitting the receiver in stride, giving him an opportunity, right? So there's just a lot of this littered throughout his film. Um, Next one here, again, right? And ball ends up being incomplete, but this is catch, set, throw. Again, another one that great anticipation here. This ball is out before he's really ever crossing that linebacker or the safety, whatever it was there. It was a linebacker. Ends up getting dropped, right? But this is the type of throw that we see Tua execute all the time, where you're throwing to a window there with great anticipation. Next one here, some more play action, right? And this is a tough throw, right? The hashes are wider in college. We're throwing it from the 45 out to the 25 here, right? So it's only 20 yards in terms of yardage gain, but air yards is significantly more. So to be able to place that ball from the far hash on the sideline is a very high level throw, right? And we've seen Tua be able to do this as well. Again, right, getting the feet into it, hopping into that throw. You see, don't want to call it a crow hop, right, but really stepping into a throw the way that you'd like to see. Next one, some more play action. Another nice job on the anticipation there, right? Again, reading that corner is fully turned. Receiver's running a great route, right? And you can see that ball is coming out before that receiver's break is complete. So that decision was made before he really even started the break. And that ball is right there on time, gives him a chance to avoid that tackle and gain some extra yards. And then last one here for the good anticipation throws, more play action. Again, same stuff we see out of Tua, right? You're catching, you're play faking, but the eyes are out here right away, right? And right now, you know that receiver is open. Just got to get it to him on the run and let him make a play. So as you can see there were several good opportunities between those two games to demonstrate some good anticipation throws. And then the flip side of that is going to be, some anticipation throws that were not as good. And like I said before, right, we're going to see a lot in the feet here, right? And just that one there, like it's a completed ball, right? But watch his feet, the way that he gets to the top of the drop there, and then his feet just kind of stop, right? It's all arm falling backwards. And when you look where that ball was completed, right, that was a good play by the tight end, Gunnar Helm, to reach back and get that, right? And, ball ends up popping out at the end there. But, no reason for him not to step into that throw and give a more accurate throw to the outside towards the sideline there, right, and give him an opportunity to turn that upfield. Another one here. So on this one, I felt like he made the right read, right? He's reading the receiver there, trying to throw it to the inside before the cornerback can see it. And the defense does a pretty good job there. But, this throw can be a lot better, right? This throw should be more in the A of Texas there, leading that receiver and giving him a chance versus behind him, right? And common theme here, watch the feet, right? Gets to the back, kind of falling back on that throw, right? And even if he feels that pressure a little bit, you can slide to the left and still be able to step into that a lot better than what Ewers did on that throw. Next example, right? Feet again, right? So as he's getting to the top of that drop, right? Watch the way the feet kind of die. He doesn't step into that throw, right? That right foot's dropping as he's throwing. And this is, that similar to that comeback route that we looked at before where he hit him on the sideline. This ball should be out here further, getting it away from the defensive back. He ends up throwing it to the outside, tip ball, interception, right? And just another one, there's, again, really not a good excuse not to step into that throw. Right, almost the exact same thing. Same type of throw. You're getting the same type of mechanics, right? As he's coming back here, right, not really stepping into it. That right foot's, dropping as opposed to driving through it, and that ball is to the inside, right? When you got tight coverage like that, that ball's got to be out here in the white, right? Give the receiver a chance to toe drag and pull that down with a low risk throw. Instead, that ball is thrown to the inside, ends up as a interception. And then last one here for the poor anticipation type throws. And again, we saw this, on the last one there. It had good anticipation, hit the receiver in stride in the previous examples, right? But here, right, another example, ball is completed, but he's catching it on his back hip. If he throws the ball out front here and gives the receiver a chance to run, right, we're talking at least a first down, if not more. And the common thing that we talk about, right, hesitating to throw, and the feet just kind of die, right, and it's all arm, and just an inaccurate throw. There are plenty of opportunities here where if he's stepping into these throws better and not just kind of winging it with his arm and being inaccurate, you can make improvements here. Next, we're going to look at a couple of bad reps in terms of sensing pressure. And one thing I'll say here is that it's more difficult to, find reps to really show a good sense of sensing the pressure, right? A lot of those are going to be the balls that are out quickly, and the blitzer never even gets close. But it's one of those deals that when you get it wrong, then it's very obvious, and that's an example of this here. You have 6 guys lined up here near the line of scrimmage, so your 6 blockers, your 5 offensive linemen, and your running back are all occupied by these guys, which means that as a quarterback, right, if you get a 7th guy, right, and they don't all blitz, but you can't predict that pre-snap. When this corner is blitzing, right, there's almost got to be a relationship there between the quarterback and wide receiver that as soon as that happens, this receiver should be hot right now, not running into the coverage out here. And Ewers never even sees it, so it really doesn't matter what the receiver does here, right? But as you get to the higher levels of this, as soon as that cornerback is blitzing, the quarterback should know that he is unaccounted for, and that ball should be out here, right, really thrown right in this area. Instead, I don't know if it was just probably just a half field read, so really wasn't even considering what was over there, never sees the pressure, and just gets walloped. I mean, he's lucky he hung onto the ball there. And then another one here, and you know, kind of same idea. Like you've got the ball all day here. And I saw this as it was put out there previously as a poor rep by Kelvin Banks, and I completely disagree with that. Was it the best rep by Banks? Right, but we're talking, probably 3+ seconds in the pocket here. Right, nice job moving off the spot. Right, let's find something to get the ball out of there. But then if you can't, right, I'm not even sure if he was touched there. Right, watch his feet. Right, he's actually staying fairly active, ready for the throw, right? But as he realizes a tick late, oh crap, right? Got to step up and make something happen. Maybe that right arm kind of hits his foot, but got to be able to sense pressure and got to be able to make more out of this than what Ewers did here. And I promise we do have more good clips of Ewers on the way. But I don't want to back end it with a bunch of bad clips. So we're going to, look at another aspect here that is difficult to show when it's a good thing, right? When you're reading coverages and you're making the easy throws, it looks simple. It's not something that's really worth putting on film, right? Because it doesn't translate very well. But the opposite side of that, when you don't do a good job of reading coverages, right? That's an easy one to identify, right? And here's a good example of that, right? Just not feeling that outside defender. If this is man coverage, he's obviously thinking that this defender is going to carry the tight end up the field there, but never happens and ends up with another interception because that defender falls off, right? Zone coverage here, the safety is picking up the tight end, and they really baited Ewers into that throw. Another one here. Another example, right? Just not seeing the field. I mean, his eyes are to the right here, right? He should see the linebacker here, number 6, right? But instead, he almost throws it directly to him, right? And not an awful read, right? If he can see that, um, if he maybe gives a quick pump fake there, might be an option there, just to get that linebacker to bite a little bit and then hit it more over here. But you've either got to be, maybe you got to be earlier on. Maybe you got to, really pull the trigger and fire it between those defenders the way that we've seen Tua do, right? But when you're a little bit late and a little bit soft, very lucky that wasn't intercepted. And then last one for this set of clips. I mean, he gets the receiver crushed on this one. And really not a scenario where it should have happened. As you're looking at this kind of a cover one or maybe a 3 deep type of look here, right? You know what you have. You got 2 routes. You got the dig, drag, whatever you want to call that, and then this deep post or over route, right? This is, I forget his name, but not a very athletic safety, Dan Jackson maybe, right? And as you're throwing this, or as you're reading it, right? He's here in the middle of the field. He's dropping back, right? From here in that position, is there any chance that he is going to be able to flip around and, get out to this area of the field? I would say no, right? So, that ball should have been thrown out here and let number 5 go get that ball. Instead, right, Ewers takes the shorter option, right? And I get what he's seeing here to an extent. Jackson does a good job of breaking on this ball, but in the end, I felt like that was the wrong read, and the result of that wrong read was that you're wide receivers getting crushed on a play that could have been a fairly easy touchdown. And then now we're going to look at some of the deep balls and go back to a focus of kind of looking at the feet here. We're going to start out with the bad ones. All right, so, and this one's kind of tough to watch because, I mean, looking at the air yards here, right? He's inside the 5 yard line, and that ball is landing about the 50. I mean, that's 45 air yards and not even stepping into it. So the arm talent is there with Ewers. But you can see that if you can get this ball out here, right, maybe 5-10 yards further by stepping into it, that receiver has solid position, right? He's running past that cornerback, and maybe you're looking at a 90+ yard touchdown, but instead the feet just completely unnecessarily die and ends up being a underthrown ball, and you get the flag there, right? Which is nice, but I mean in college football it's a 15-yard penalty, big deal. I'd much rather have the 90-yard touchdown pass if you just trust your mechanics and throw the damn ball. Next one here, similar idea, right? In the sense that you get the play fake, gets the back, and then just not stepping into that throw, right? He's leaning back on that back foot as he's throwing, and I think that ends up leading that ball a little further inside than what he wanted, right? Whereas if you step into that throw and put it further out here, I mean, it's not a high completion type of ball, but at least it gets you into more of a one-on-one scenario and keeps that safety away from the ball. And then last one for this set, right? So this one's not I have it under my deep ball section. It's only, a little over 20 yards, maybe not even, but still trying to put that ball over top. And another example where footwork again, right? Feet die, and just kind of throwing at a bad angle and trying to get that ball to the outside here, right? And another one that was completely unnecessary. You're putting your receiver here in a scenario that, if you really step into this throw and get it more towards the goal line, right? Yeah, you still have to compete with the safety there to make a play, but by not getting that ball out in front, right, now you're putting two defenders in the area and you're making it a much easier play for the safety. And then a couple of good ones on the deep ball section, right? And again, you're going to see a difference in the feet, right? This one I felt that receiver could have stayed outside a little better, but watching his feet, just a lot more, pep in the step, basically stepping into that throw, right? And now you're getting, now you're over 45 air yards on that one, right? I just felt like the mechanics of that one was a lot better in terms of, not giving the cornerback an opportunity at it, or the defensive back, not corner. And then the other one I have here for the deep ball throwing I like better. Again, much better feet there, right? He's catching the ball, getting the top of his drop, and really stepping into it, driving off that back leg into the front foot, and the ball ends up incomplete in this scenario, right? But this is a really nice throw, really nice touch, perfect placement. Receiver's got to come down with that. All right, and then we're going to wrap it up just with some, creating on the move type of plays for Ewers. And the first one here is going to be a negative one, right? And on this one here, you can see that feeling the pressure, doesn't need to abandon completely. Like, he could settle down right in there and still be in good shape, kind of runs himself into pressure to an extent. But bigger than that was, I have no idea what he was looking at here. Maybe he intentionally threw that one into the ground. Can't tell whether that was tipped or not, but regardless, right, looking at what he's looking at here and the way that he's throwing, right, it looks like he's trying to get it to number 2 here, who is breaking upfield. There's no way that he was going to have enough to get enough zip on that ball to get it there, right? You are more likely going to have either this defender jumping it, right, or you have this defender coming into the field there or into the screen there, right? So either way, this was just a poor decision in my opinion in terms of what we're doing out of the pocket on a play like this. All right, and then last one here. So this is kind of a similar play. He's going to roll out of the pocket to his right. But on this one, you can see, again, watching the feet, much better job of, as he's getting in the pocket, staying on the move, kind of moving towards the direction that he's throwing, right? And really, see the way that he's getting his momentum into the throw. And, when that happens, right, you can get this type of play that's really high level play, right? We're getting the ball out there in front of that receiver. Um, can't be much better than that one. All right, so wrapping it up, like I said, I'm not a quarterback expert, and there's probably going to be some disagreements on some of those, videos that I had, and I'm fine with that. I'm always looking to expand my football knowledge. But what I got out of this film review is that Quinn Ewers is a player who has a lot of stuff to clean up, but he's also a player that, a lot of that stuff that needs cleaned up is fixable. You can see the accuracy, anticipation, and arm talent scattered throughout his film. It's just not nearly consistent enough. I think his learning curve going from Steve Sarkisian's offense at Texas to Mike McDaniel's offense here in Miami will be less than many other options you could have gotten in the draft. Ewers is coming into a good situation for him in Miami where he's not the guy, and he has been his entire life. He may not even throw a regular season pass in 2025. So he'll have the opportunity to develop in the background and hopefully continue to understand the difference in his game when his mechanics are good versus when they're sloppy. And really, for the first time in his career, he's going to be placed in a situation where if he wants to be anything more than a jag, just a guy, he's really going to have to pay attention to those details. I'm a long way off from saying that Quinn Ewers has a future as a starting quarterback in the NFL, but what I will say is that we have Zach Wilson who's locked into QB2, and the NFL makes it easier than ever to carry a third quarterback on the roster. Miami is going to have an entire offseason, preseason, and even into the regular season when he's likely to be the scout team QB in practices to see whether Ewers is ready to step in as QB2 in 2026 or they need to go in a different direction. And QB2 is probably what I'd call his ceiling for right now. And let's be honest, if you can get your QB2 in the 7th round of the NFL draft, that's an absolute steal. As always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. I have one more draft pick, Zeke Biggers, to do a film review of, and then I'm not sure what's going to be coming up next. If these videos continue to get good numbers, I may start doing some film reviews on the UDFAs while we have some more quiet time in the offseason. So if there's a particular UDFA that you're really interested in seeing a film review of, leave that in the comments below as well. Thanks again, and we'll talk again soon.